Hello and welcome to the Afri-Dominion Show. My name is Freeman Singirankabo, and thank you so very much for tuning in to our program today. Those of you joining us live, especially if you're joining us live from social media like Facebook and YouTube, welcome. We are so glad and so thrilled that you can free some time out of your busy schedule and join us today. Please feel free to share our content with your networks. Also, we would love that you can subscribe and follow any one of our social media pages. Why we have plenty of information that we would love to share with you, and that we would also love your input in it. And for the rest of you guys joining us, especially from television and radio station, you are welcome as well. We would love to hear from you. Come and join the conversation today. As it happens, we have Zoom open if you so choose to come and share the conversation with us, as well as those of you who are joining us straight from social media. So Zoom is open for every single one of us, every single one of you. So we would love to hear from you, especially if you find a topic or the conversation that we are conversating on that we get ready to have, if it has any of added value to you. Also, your contribution will be very, very, very much appreciated. The conversations that we get to have here at the African Dominion Show, of the Afri-Dominion Show, we have this conversation frankly with each and every one of you. We speak frankly, we speak broadly, and we speak with no apologies. Why? Because the issues we discuss here are the issues that we care very deeply about. And it is for this reason that everything we discuss, we also discuss it in the spirit of truth, love, and trust. And these are the benchmarks by which we love each and every one of you to measure both the integrity and the validity of the content that we share with you as it happens. It is for this reason we also ask that you please give us some feedbacks. We love your feedbacks, no matter what kind of feedbacks that you give us. Be it good feedbacks, bad feedbacks, ugly feedbacks, all of it, we welcome it. Why? It is the only way we can measure whether what we are sharing with you it's helpful or not helpful. So we can figure out how can we remediate, if we need to make any adjustment, or what can we continue to do so that the program can actually be more useful and be more helpful to a broader audience. So how can you send us some feedbacks? You can come through our website, which is www.afridominion.com. www.afridominion.com. Our main email is info@afridominion.com. info@afridominion.com. While you're at it, please, we would love to have you in our Telegram group. Come and join us. You can meet the rest of the like minds, those of us who are headed the same direction, same destination. Come and join us if you found this program any of added value, so that you can come over and actually add your brick to it or lend a helping hand as well. We absolutely would love to have you. We also would love to receive your support because we are fully financing this program ourselves. I repeat, this program is fully financed by our brothers and sisters all over Africa. So we would love for you to also come and finance this program. Help us, because we are working on behalf of our brothers and sisters all over Africa, one country at a time. So if you want your program to pass through, also keep in mind that we want to make sure that we also finance it 100%. Why? Then we can have an opportunity to say whatever it is we want to say. We can have an opportunity to run the agenda. We can have an opportunity to speak on behalf of the voiceless without being timed. Are we together? And with that in mind, welcome. We are so thrilled that you are able to join us. Apologies also for a late start. We had another program, pre-engagement, that did not make it possible for us to actually begin on time. So our apologies. We know that most of you networks who expect our conversations or our program to start on time, it becomes inconvenient to you all. But we are truly sorry that we began our program a little bit late. Just a quick brief for those of you who aren't familiar with the Afri-Dominion Show. What is the show? What is Afri-Dominion Show? but also to begin with, what is Afri-Dominion? Afri-Dominion, it's an idea that inspires, advocates, and encourages, as well as helping a complete and total dominion of Africa. One country at a time, by its sons, daughters, and African descendants, all in the interest of African people. So the show is a mouthpiece of the idea. Here on the show, you can expect that every single one of the programs that we air also should be inspiring. It should advocate, it must advocate. And it should also encourage, and it also has to help, both in action but also through the air. A complete and total take back of Africa. A complete and total dominion of Africa. African resources, African leadership. One country at a time. That is why we are here. That is what we are going to be doing. That is what you can expect from each and every one of us. Now, the idea is broken down into themes. We currently have 5 major themes that we sort of like put all our conversation in. We have a broadcast time from Monday all the way to Friday. So we broadcast between 12 to 1:30 Eastern Standard Time, or Washington, D.C. time for those of you who aren't familiar with Eastern Standard Time. So if you want to catch us live, you can catch us live during that time frame. On Mondays, we talk about the eradication of African refugees and African stateless person. On Tuesdays, we talk about the Constitution, law, and policy review and implementations, all focused to Africa. On Wednesdays, we talk about our history. We also get to talk about our own testimony. We share our own testimony. We encourage that we come over and we write our own history the way we want it written, not the way someone else dictates that we write it. On Thursdays, we discuss the spirit of dominion. What is the spirit of dominion? That word again, dominion. It's a way that we encourage each and every one of you to take control. Take back control with no apologies. Take the full responsibility. Take the full accountability. Be accountable. Be responsible. Manage your entire resources of your homeland, of your community, or your family. Take both the criticism and the successes that you have. Do not let the outsiders keep the management. Currently, Africa doesn't have management in its own hands. The management of Africa, it's currently being withheld, or it's held by the outsiders, which is why we are still poor when we are the most extremely wealthiest continent on planet Earth. So we want to change that. We want to take back our house. We want to take back everything within our house and clean the house. Bring back the order in the interest of our own people primarily, and then the rest of the world afterwards. So on Thursdays, we get to talk about how do we get that done? How can we take back the governments to serve our own people, not the outsiders? How do we control, how do we master everything within our own homeland? Which means we gotta open our minds. You cannot master something you don't understand. You certainly cannot understand something you don't have any information over. So there is that process that we have to be able to follow. Each and every one of us. No exceptions. Especially right now that we are in 2020. Slavery, it's still running on Africa. On the African continent. However, our inability to do anything about it gives permission to slave masters to continue to enslave the continent and our own people. So we want to change that. On Fridays, we get to talk about the current event and its impact to Africa and African people. On that day, we get to run our own agenda. You get to run the agenda, whatever it is that you care the most about, we get to talk about it. So I welcome each and every one of you to come in and have a saying in the conversation. And today, given that it's Monday, we want to talk about refugees and stateless person. And the topic today will be, will you lend a helping arm in solving our refugees and stateless person crisis in Africa. Let me repeat. Will you lend a helping arm in solving our refugees and stateless person crisis in Africa? As you've seen for the past 1 month, we have the same theme on Mondays, and we talk about refugees. Why? We have an epidemic when it comes to refugee crisis in Africa and stateless person. But the saddest thing is, out of 54 countries, soon to be 56, assuming that they keep on breaking down Africa, we have so many brothers and sisters who find it necessary to flee their own homeland. And we kept on wondering, we continuously ask, why do we flee our own homeland? If the leadership is very good, why must you leave your own homeland and you become homeless? Obviously, something is wrong within your own homeland when you are forced to flee. So, today the conversation, it's actually going to require or ask, can you actually put your money where your mouth is? Can you donate both your time and creativity in solving our crisis as Africans when it comes to our refugee problem and stateless person? So why are we being specific today? Currently, I bet that most of you have no idea what the United Nations High Commission for Refugees does in detail, except that you know that they help refugees. I will submit to you that you have no idea what the mission is for Human Rights Watch, for Red Cross, when it comes to specifically African people. We want to be able to fully understand what is the mission for this organization having charge of our own people. What better ways than us taking charge of our own situation? There is a saying here in the West that if you break something, you gotta fix it. We did not break it to begin with. We didn't cause the refugee problems, even though partially we have, because our own ignorance allowed the situation to actually ferment. However, right now, I will submit to you that we have a responsibility to fix it. We must be able to fix the problem, because it is what I can call a regional security matter. It's a continent security matter. It's not just a national security matter, it's a continent security matter. If we maintain the status quo, if we continue to have African refugees, African stateless person all over Africa, chaos will remain. Slavery will remain. Free and cheap labor will remain. Brothers and sisters will continue to be killed without being accounted for. All of which we are responsible partially because we choose to look the other way around. It is almost unconscionable that just because we may find ourselves safe today in your respective region and locations, someone else who's suffering, you can be like, hey, mind your own business. However, indirectly, you're causing the problem, and I will let you know why. Suppose that you're purchasing shares in any one of the companies selling arms in Africa. You have shares in any one of these companies. Suppose you have shares in any of the military services, private corporations running military services in Africa. You are indirectly affecting what's happening there. Suppose you're giving your money to the United Nations High Commission for Refugees, to the Red Cross, to Human Rights Watch, any one of these organizations currently taking care of our own issues, and you have zero oversight as to what they are doing. How will you know that your wishes, your intent, your purpose is being served? Hence, our recommendation that we take charge for our own brothers and sisters. We take the responsibilities in solving those problems. We need to take the full responsibility. No exception, no excuses. However, it has to go beyond the words. And just so that it's better manageable, I believe it will be best that every country attempts to initialize the program or the projects. We've taken it upon ourselves to begin it, one country at a time. Those of you wishing, especially if you are one of these benevolent sons and daughters of Africa, African descendants, and you actually care enough that we solve these problems ourselves, please reach out to us. We would love to work with you. The United Nations High Commission for Refugees has been operating more than 70 years. It has yet to have a permanent solution of our refugee crisis and stateless persons. Not only that, some of these refugees have been losing their status as refugees. They haven't gone back home, yet they are no longer a responsibility of these organizations. Oftentimes because the governments from whichever countries that these refugees are coming from are demanding. They are lobbying in the United Nations or at the United Nations, but they are also lobbying in the countries of which have a huge voice or big voice within these meetings at the United Nations. For instance, Rwanda has lobbied that most Rwandese people lose their refugee status ever since 2014, if my memory serves me correct. So you have a good number of Rwandese people who have yet to go home, are still out there. But right now they cannot get any help, any assistance, none whatsoever. Not to mention those who are actually stuck in forests. Let me again jot your mind for those of you international community who do not understand the issues we have here. A child who was born on July 20th, 1994, and was born in a forest in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, in Angola, in Malawi, in Mozambique, in Central African Republic, or any one of these countries that Rwandese refugees found themselves in. That child today is going to be 28 years old. This child is not a genocidal, but this child knows nothing more beyond a tree and a bush. They do not go to school. They don't have a life like you and I. Their outlook when it comes to life is it's so dark. They are more dealing with how can I survive tomorrow. They can't go to school because there are no schools to have. If they're lucky, they have something to put on, some clothes. So now, I ask you, why would that 28 years old man or woman stay in a forest? You may ask, how come they don't go home? If their parents fled a legitimate threat from Rwanda, and they love so much their child, would you as a parent let go your own child and you say go figure it out yourself? But not to mention, currently the United Nations reports, and many various nations, they do have reports about persecutions, various human rights violations and abuses taking place currently in the country, in Rwanda to be specific. These people who have fled 28 years ago, they have no papers, they cannot get any assistance, they live in forests, they move every 2-3 weeks, 1 month. They don't have a permanent place that they stay on. They do not even live in camps for some of them. We have turned them into animals by default. And these are the conditions that I'm asking you, brothers and sisters, no exceptions, sons, daughters, and you African descendants, to realize how deep this refugee and stateless person crisis is. Now, I would also put it out there. It's a big business. It's a huge business. First and foremost, it's a cheap labor. You can employ a refugee for free and give him food. You can employ them and give them clothes. And they're more than happy to have that because they don't see nothing else better for their own lives beyond just the survival of that same very day. So there are so many corporations currently employing thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of refugees. Arm dealers, they steal young people, child soldiers from these refugees. Perfect example in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. There are many armed groups that go where these refugees are and they steal by force young boys, young females to go and become their child soldiers. Again, because we say kumbaya, it's none of our business. Besides, we don't know any of them. You can barely hear any of these issues. Certainly the mainstream media would never bring those issues to light unless there is some interest in it. So today, as we are in these countries, very stable, we have jobs, our lifestyle is more than okay. I'm asking you guys to please take some action. Look at your life, especially if you have ever been a refugee. If you've ever lived or experienced being a refugee, being a stateless person. If you know what it's like not having any papers, working under the table. Some of you are today in these nations working under the table. You know how hustling, constantly under fear, it's no fun. At home, none of us needs to work under the table. You can legally work. You can legally go back in your own homeland. You can legally reclaim your property, redeem your property. You can do whatever it is you want to do at home. And I believe it's not so much to ask if we thrive to do just that. Think about all of you smart young men, women who are stuck in forest somewhere. You are very genius, but the environment that you are in will never foster you to become who you truly, truly are. That is a loss, not just to your family, a community, the nation, even I would dare say the entire world. So we need to be able to harness your gifts from your early stage as a child up to when you grow. And that can only be done in an environment that actually cares to your well-being. And it certainly isn't a refugee situation. I know most of you can care less because you already have plenty more issues you're dealing with. You're dealing with life, you're dealing with work, you're dealing with drama, you've got so many things going on. The last thing on your plate is someone else coming and dump on something else on you. But I submit to you guys, the survival of the motherland in its entirety not only would enable you to become yourself 100%, but even the struggle you have right now in whatever country that you are in, you can be able to do the same thing at home like you're doing in any of the countries that you are in. Minding you, Africa has every single natural resources that these nations have. Minding you, most of us, we are trained to do many things in these nations. We can do it at home as well. We can develop at home. We can stop being lazy and go through the process of design. Develop, refine, and produce product and services for our own people. Doesn't matter even if it takes us backwards a little bit. But now we will be doing it for ourselves. We can stop being dependent. There's no reason why we should be dependent when we are stinking rich, stinking wealthy as a continent. However, each and every one of us has a role to play. You forego your comfort in your respective country and you get right back in the dirt and you start afresh. You start from zero. In most places, we gotta start from zero. So, unless you're looking for the interest of the mass, this suggestion is not sexy to any of you. I know and I fully understand. Why would you poke your own little business going on, your own little lifestyle, for the sake of going back and start from zero? I submit to you, at any given time, your bucket could easily be flipped and you find yourself starting from zero. But this time you will be reacting as opposed to planning ahead. Our family, we have had to start from zero more than 6 times, I think, in my lifetime. Which means from being well off to being a homeless and rebuilding all over again, including here in the United States. Being a homeless, having nothing in the United States, and you are an African. Just think of that picture. Most of you don't get to really imagine what it takes to start from scratch. But it's possible. You will never be in a position that you cannot handle yourselves. That is for sure. We have resilience within our own DNA as a people. We also have gifts. Plenty of gifts. You have mastery of every single natural resources at home. You can awaken the knowledge within you. But that will not come when you're not focused. That's not going to come when you have zero interest in those subject matters. And it certainly isn't going to come if you just talk about it. You got to try it some way so you can help your body recall. So again, will you lend a helping arm to solving this refugee and stateless person crisis amongst our brothers and sisters in Africa, even outside of Africa? We have many of them, countless, who are in this predicament. Most of them, they live a fearful life. A fearful life. For the past 30 years. They cannot be productive members of society because they are constantly under fear. The United Nations High Commission for Refugees won't hear of them. If they haven't already been suspended, they're no longer a problem for them. So minding you, when someone gives you a time frame, I will help you up to this point. The rest is up to you. On one side, they're telling you get it together, but on the other side, you're no longer a problem, even when the problem maintains or remains there. Which is why we need our own permanent department that takes care of our own people and that actually find a permanent solution to end the refugee and the stateless person within the continent of Africa, one country at a time. This is not a dream, guys. This is going to be done. The question is, will you be a part of it? I want you guys to go and visit the United Nations High Commission for Refugees. Look, its budget every year. Look how much money they spend on Africa and African refugees. Ask yourself where this money is coming from. Look your respective country, how much money they get to help refugees. And are those refugees your own people or outsiders? For instance, again, Rwanda gets paid to take in foreign refugees when it still has its own pending situation with refugees that it hasn't been able to successfully resolve. It's beautiful to help other brothers and sisters all over Africa. But for goodness sake, you cannot get your own house in order, but you are attempting to help somebody else. Why? Because the government is not looking in the best interest of the people primarily. It's going after money from the United Nations and these other nations offering funds that they take in refugees. So the same people claiming to represent the people are in business. Remember, I told you, a refugee And stateless person is a big business globally, not just in Africa. You are just like a stock. They can bid on you, they can sell you, they can exchange you, they can transfer you. And you will never know that that's what's happening. Again, some of this conversation, we may end up getting censored, that we are misinforming you guys, but that's the truth. Go check it. There's a tendency that the big boys out here who own the technology, they cut us off when we talk about these issues. But soon we will have our own network where you don't get to cut us off. It's critical, guys, that our own issues, we get to solve them by ourselves, and we get to have the responsibility to do that by ourselves. So I ask you guys from you various nations, it's important. It is important that we take another step beyond talk and take action. And that is why today I'm asking you guys to make sure that you reach out to us. Whatever country that you're coming from or that you're in, if you know that your country has refugees, I need you to take it upon yourself to initialize a project that seeks to know how many refugees do you have, both in Africa and globally. I know this is a daunting task. It's not going to be done overnight, but let's start a little bit at a time. Let's pinpoint, let's locate them to begin with. I also know that some of them may not want to come forth, again, because of the fear, the trust issue, all of that. But at the very least, let's locate, hey, where are our people? What kind of conditions are they in? Are they in a positions to be helped? Do they have papers? Do they have basic needs? All of that. Let's plan it out and let's not react. If we cannot do this ourselves, how can you expect the United Nations High Commission for Refugees to do it themselves when they have zero stake in it, except to spend whatever money that they are given and to show, hey, we've done some good work, so let's keep it up for the next one to come. Remember, they rather have more budget every year, so they stay in business, because not every dollar that is given, it's spent on the refugees. Some of the money is channeled to the organization doing the back end work. So why can it not be you? That's the question. So those of you guys who would love to give a helping hand, I am talking about putting your money where your mouth is. Please reach out to us at afridominion.com or info@afridominion.com. We need to know, what country are you interested in? Where do we start? This is all things that we are starting from scratch. In some countries we've already started, but we want the entire Africa to begin. Some of you actually warned me from talking about this publicly. There were various reasons why I was given. They say that the enemy might hear the plan and they might sabotage it, and so on. I believe that today the people have the power. If we empower the people, a small group currently running the people will not have a chance. If we articulate what it is we intend to do to the people, they get the information, the full detail, they understand it, it's going to be easy for them to support it Again, being 100% transparent. This is not business, guys. This is survival. This is rebuilding ourselves. While you may find a business out of it, but the primary purpose is to rebuild ourselves. So, I believe, given the reach of the people we can find, if we say, hey, are you interested in teaming up? 1.2 billion people found the situation or found the idea plausible, something that they can see themselves in. We expect that some of you are going to take action versus keep it under the wraps, develop it, one little teeny team, find all kinds of hurdle while we at it. You've heard of things they call crowdsourcing. We never knew that such thing would exist. But today, you may have an idea. Today, you can raise $1 million tomorrow, when the bank would not be able to issue you a loan for $1 million before they gave you a whole host of things to go through. That's the same potential power that we are tapping into right now. That's why I believe that it is inevitable, if we agree, as sons, daughters, and African descendants, even friends of Africa, this issue, we can eradicate it. We must eradicate it for the sake of our own generation, for the sake of the national security, for the sake of the continent security. We're talking about the Africa security. Again, I put it to you. How many French refugees do you know of? How many United States refugees do you know of? How many Canadian refugees do you know of? How many UK or United Kingdom refugees do you know of? How many German refugees do you know of? How many Russian refugees do you know of? How many Chinese refugees do you know of? Shall I go on? So why is it that in your own respective country, only in Africa, or maybe I should say mostly in Africa, why is it that we find ourselves becoming refugees? It's business, guys. And we wanna choke that pipe that's misusing our people. As the refugees, you leave your own nation. Your brain power, it's exported to another nation for free. Cheap labor. Your potential is never nourished, because you're dealing with a crisis from your early stage as a child to when you die, especially if you're stuck in the refugee camp for life. Your opportunity are so measured. There is very little you can get past to. You cannot become what your life is designed to become as a refugee. Few exceptions, but oftentimes there is a ceiling already predetermined for you. And we want to end that. And again, all of you benevolent brothers and sisters, kings and queens, African descendants, friends of Africa, we are asking you today to take action. This is an issue that we absolutely must take action towards. In particular right now, given that I'm from Rwanda, we have already started that for Rwandese people, brothers and sisters. Again, those of you who are in hiding, those of you who may know some Rwandese refugees, please let us know. We are already helping them out. We are already getting ourselves together so that we put ourselves in position to do something about that. The same way the United Nations High Commission refugees have a pretty good count of where you are, what you're doing, your status. We want to be able to know that information as well. We want to be able to take action in helping you now, because now we are concerned. We can run the agenda instead of the United Nations High Commission for Refugees, instead of these other organizations. We need to cut out the middlemen and do it ourselves. Why? It is in our best interest that we end the crisis. Friends can help, but we ultimately must take the biggest chunk of step out of it. So, if you know any refugees, any Rwandese refugees, any East African refugees, let us know. Because we've already started the program specifically for Rwanda. And that's why we are asking you, the rest of Africa, to also begin projects. Link up with us, team up with us. Especially those of you who already have small organizations that are helping refugees in different forests here and there. I believe you need to look broader. Become a resource to a much broader audience. Could be your own people, could be whichever audience that you have chosen to help in. But if we create a department that specifically takes care of all those people with nobody left behind, all of us, we are going to benefit. Of course, that also entails that we need to study the reason why our brothers and sisters are continuing to flee their nations. We have an answer as well. We need to start tackling these problems. We need a strong leadership, strong security forces by our own people, not outsiders. There's something that I've been a bit hesitant in sharing with you guys. But I believe we need a moratorium on any foreign services in Africa, especially military services, foreign military services. We need a moratorium on the entire Africa continent. What does that mean for those of you who do not understand what I'm saying? We need to stop any action that brings in arm, that brings in military, foreign military to the continent of Africa, that brings in spies, that brings in what they call consultant, security consultant in Africa. Because these organizations, they come in unchecked. They stir up the pot, including the consequences of refugee crisis and stateless person. For instance, if a government is toppled in any of the nations that they arrive to, and they literally get rid of the government because that government is not seeking the interest of whoever that sent them, eventually, you, the people, leave your own homeland while they're scrambling to put in someone else who can better look after their own interest. We need to be able to know who is coming in our countries. The same way you cannot just come in the United States like that. Again, I put it out there to you. Can you just see a battalion of South Africans coming in to any of the ports here in the United States unchecked, bringing in their own guns, bringing in their own military gears and everything with no problems? Again, the answer is hell no. It would not happen in France. It would not happen in the United Kingdom. Nor would it happen in any of the so-called G5 or G10. These are the most powerful countries, as they call themselves. Why is it that they insist that when they come to Africa, they should have a freebie on everything? Meaning they can bring in their own guns, their own gears, their military forces, the bombs, the mass destruction weapons, including testing some of the latest weapons to our homeland, to our own homeland. That is why you can find someone in the Mai Mai region, or the so-called Mai Mai, having the latest weapon. Having the latest weapon. They have zero connection on the marketplace, but they have access to one of the latest technological weapon that there is. But they will not be able to have access to some food. Why? These weapons are being tested in battlegrounds in Africa. It's easier for this organization to slide in some arms behind the curtains and give them to both sides, not just one side, to see, hey, how well our weapons working. Which is why I'm saying we need a moratorium to any foreign, specifically military services. Anything related to security, we need a moratorium to it. We also need to reinstate a complete checkpoint of everything that comes in your own country. What's the point of immigration? What's the point of border service, border patrol? When some can come in with no problems and others cannot come in. There's a thing that they call a diplomatic suitcases and diplomatic luggages that cannot be checked. I found that to be also crazy. Diplomats have the best opportunity to sneak in anything you can give them because they don't get checked. What if I'm bringing in a bomb, an atomic bomb, and my intention is to blow up a bunch of people? How will you know? And I'm a diplomat. I will have absolutely nothing to be asked about because I am actually excluded from being a suspect by nature. We need to revisit this whole thing about entering a sovereign nation like you're coming home. Young people, we have so much work to do. All these recommendations, I know, it's almost like touching in someone's eye, especially some of the stakeholders. Imagine if you have $1 trillion business deal, and you're arms dealers, and you're hearing this little guy talking about moratorium on arms sales on the continent of Africa. This is like a death sentence. But I want you guys to raise your awareness to that level. At what point are you willing to shed your blood for your nation, your own continent, for the better of the next generation if necessary? At what point can you fight for true liberation and true freedom? Also want you to know that independence is not freedom. Independence is not liberation. Those are two different things. Africa may have independence, but Africa has yet to become free. Africa has yet to become liberated. And that's what we are saying. We need to go that extra steps. Those steps of freedom, true freedom and true liberation, we need that. We need self-governance as a people. We do not want to be governed by outsiders. When they're having meetings of how they want to manage our resources, of how they intend to topple this government or that government because they are no longer seeing their own interest looked upon. This is something that we as a people need to stop also. There is a very popular saying that you will hear. You may hear something that goes like, for our own interest, we will come and support you militarily. And for the interest of our nation, we are going in this region to fight terrorism. Completely ignoring sovereignty and coming with or without you wanting it. Why? Because we two chickens. We are afraid to say hell no. Look at Kenya, for example. The so-called issue with Al-Shabaab. Look at the Democratic Republic of the Congo. ISIS. Explain to me, what does ISIS have to do in a jungle in the Democratic Republic of the Congo? How is ISIS benefiting over there? How did ISIS get there? How do they target where to go? It's a rhetoric, guys. It's rhetoric with a purpose to give you the reason why a military from various nations find themselves there. And this military, they have a free check. They have zero check. They can bring in as many gears as possible. They can kill and do whatever they want to do. And they will never have to answer to the local leadership nor the United Nations. What can you call that condition if not slavery? Master-slave relationship kind of thing. They invite themselves, they do whatever they want, and they leave. In this case, there's no intention to leave. Why? Most of Africa has rich natural resources. Look, every single country that has chaos right now, every single country in Africa that has chaos right now, the common denominator is natural resources. Every single one of them, I submit to you. Which is why this refugees problem and the stateless person problem must remain so long as that root cause still prevails. Which is why we require bold people to do something about it. Again, guys, I know this is not for everybody, but I do need some of you brave enough so that we can take action. In 2020, 2021, 2022, and going forward, it's unconscionable that we stay in fear for life, knowing that this is an issue that's going to have an impact to our children, grandchildren, and the offspring down the line, generations to come. What our parents and grandparents didn't get to do, it's up to us today. They've done what they could, they've finished. But now what are we doing ourselves today? Hence the this appealing to all of you. I know this may look like a huge elephant and you are like a little ant. You may say, what can I do? It's too big, I can't handle it. Stop looking at it in its entirety. Look what you can chew. Take your own little small piece that you can manage. There's a queen who says when Africans come in Europe for economic reason, they become economic refugees. While Europeans established in Africa for economic reasons, they become experts. How about that? I mean, you couldn't have said it any better. The question is, why is it so sexy for Europeans to come and buy land in Africa, for Americans to come and buy land in Africa, for Chinese to come and purchase land in Africa, for every single country, every single nation to come and purchase land in Africa when you are actually living it? Why is it? Can you go and buy land in China right now without any issues? There are a lot of things that we need to really think about, guys. Which is why this is a beginning where you even entertain the idea in your head and you actually look based on your lifestyle, based on where you are in life. What's feasible for you at this moment? What can you do? But also, join arms with like minds. Together, we are stronger than a storm. Alone is just you. So there is a need to have choice, to make choices as to how you want to proceed. And one thing for sure, all these initiatives must have all of us unified to get them done. And what better ways to begin than starting to walk? Even if it's just one step, it's one step forward than you remaining where you were today. Even if it takes us 100 years, we are going to actually do the best to do it. But I am so confident it's not going to take us 100 years. We are too good to take 100 years to solve our problems. Because when a war erupts, in a split of a second, you can decide as to whether you want to stay in your own house or whether you want to take a shelter. That same split of a second can also be a determining factor as to whether you're choosing to fight back or change the circumstances in your own lives. But you need to awaken the giant in you. You need to awaken the bravely person within you. That brave individual that's been dormant for many years. You got to wake him up. No exceptions. It's necessary. Again, we keep on saying, you were born in one day and you have to die. There's a specific day that you will never pass. Whether you are gone by accident or whether you sleep in a bed. So choose what you want to do in between those two dates. These are two appointments that none of us have any control over. It is happening with or without any of us wanting it. So what better ways than to go after you've done all that you wanted to do on this earth? So ladies and gentlemen, again, I go back to where I started. Will you lend a helping arm in solving our refugees and stateless person crisis in Africa? Will you lend an arm in helping solve the refugees and the stateless person in your own respective nation? Regardless whether you are in your country or not, regardless where you are poor or not, that's not the point. The will to want to do that, the desire to even want to know what is it about. Will you lend the helping arm? That's the beginning. Again, there is a saying here. If you have the desire Never mind the how. If your heart feels it, the how will be attracted by the heart. Let me repeat, because some of you may not be understanding what I'm saying. You need not worry where the resources is going to come from if you are willing to tackle the situation. Mother Nature has a funny way to bring all your needs when you have committed to work on a project, any given project. If it is in your heart, the means follow you. Those means, the way to get it done, will be attracted to you. That's a natural law. But you have to make that decision yourselves without anybody influencing you. Which is why I say, can you put your money where your mouth is as well? Because right now, we do have some wealthiest people, some wealthiest Africans, looking to score another $1 billion, looking to score $1 trillion. And the very least they're thinking about issues is refugees. What's the refugees? They might even be investing in any one of these enterprises running refugee programs down the line. We need to design. We need to develop. We need to refine and implement projects, solutions that eradicate this African refugee and African stateless person situation or this condition. This is a duty that we want to get rid of, or it's a duty that we have to take on for this year 2022 and going forward. And I would love to say, please join us. Anywhere you are, join us. But look in your own nation and see if you see any like minds. Those of you who actually have a heart willing to take on another challenge, despite that you are already full of other issues you're dealing with in your own personal lives or your regular life as you have it. I cannot stress enough how important it is that we realize that our future is in our hands, not in the hands of outsiders. Our future, your future, is in your hands. I am the captain of my own future, and you are the captain of your own future. If you do not take the time to plan, to design, to develop, and to take action, whatever plan that you have, your result will be whatever it is you planned. If you plan nothing, you obviously will get nothing. If you plan something and you execute it, there is a chance that you will get something out of it. It's like math. So all of you guys who think that these organizations are going to do this and that and that and that, unless you explicitly say, hey, listen, we know for the past 70 years, 70 plus years, you've done well, we thank you. However, we wish to see A, B, C, D. What does it take? What do you need for you to achieve our A, B, C, D? Be explicit in your deliverables. These should be the same deliverables that you gave yourselves as an organization, as a department, when it comes to solving our problems, when it comes to African refugees and African stateless person. So who's up to the challenge, guys? We need you. We literally need you. I cannot sleep, seriously, knowing that we have brothers and sisters being raped in forests like animals, being sold like cattle. There are so many cases. You know, a refugee child can be stolen and nobody cares. Where here in the United States, if a child goes missing, I'm telling you, within 1 hour, there's so much resources deployed. So much resources deployed from various government agencies just to find that child. So what's wrong with this picture? Are you not valued enough? Or do you not love yourself enough? Do you not love your own people enough that you can also care enough when another child is stolen, when another child is raped, when another child is killed, when another child is turned into a child soldier? So many abuses taking place, but because we don't see it in front of cameras, we can care less. As long as you don't see it, it does not exist. This is a situation, guys, that we literally have to take action towards. I can't sleep when I know that companies are purchasing human beings in 2022. In good conscience, me personally, I have a problem with it. But then again, I'm just one person. Which is why I say something can be done. Whatever we can do, let's get it done. It's unconscionable that it's only happening in Africa, whereas in other nations, it may happen, but not to the extent that it's happening in Africa. Why Africa? Why, guys? And why is it okay that all of this is taking place there? Why do we have governments that cannot protect their own citizens? We also have an answer for that, because these governments aren't there for the interests of the people in actuality, even though that's what it's written in these constitutions, in these laws and policies. Which brings us to our tomorrow's themes. It's a systematic way that we have to do all of these things. The systems within Africa have been broken, completely broken. That's why I say we have to start from scratch. No exceptions. As hard as it's going to be, as many tears as we're going to have, as many sleepless nights that we might spend, it is so worth for my child, my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren, my offspring, and your offspring to live a better life tomorrow at home in Africa. Not as refugees wandering around the world, certainly not as refugees wandering around Africa. It's up to us, guys, to stop that. So with that in mind, I want to say thank you so much for listening, those of you on the radio station. Thank you so much for watching, those of you on television, and those of you on social media. Thank you kindly for following the program. Again, please share this program. If you have found it helpful, if you have found it useful, support us because we're seeking more help to broaden the broadcast. And thank you so very much to networks broadcasting our signal, both on television and radio stations. Because without you guys, we won't be able to get far. But we are determined the same way that they are determined. So please leave your comments to our website, www.afridominion.com. Our main email is info@afridominion.com. We would love to hear from you. And come join arms. Come join hands with us. Let's solve our own issues. Let's take the responsibility and complete accountability to these issues on behalf of our brothers and sisters, especially these who are voiceless. And with that in mind, guys, I'm super grateful for the opportunity to serve you, for the opportunity to stand or to sit here right in front of you in your living rooms, on your radio stations, as we discuss today and as we share. I am Freeman Singirankabo with Afri Dominion. Until we see you again on the same theme next Monday, may God be with you. But also, do not miss our conversation for tomorrow. We will be talking about Constitution, law, and policy review, and implementation. And with that in mind, guys, we are grateful for the opportunity. You have a super fantastic day. Until tomorrow, so long.